Hello, good evening. So, how are you guys doing? I hope that, as always, when this Go Live finds you, that wherever you are, that you're nice, warm, safe, and content. Today was a good day. Let's see here. So, I made a new friend today named Violet, and I saw that she's in our group now. And I bought this really pretty bracelet, or actually, we did a barter, we did a trade. So I gave her two of my candles in exchange for this really pretty bracelet. So like right there, it has like a unicorn on it. And so it's got amethyst and rose quartz. I love that combination. Like you guys saw with my bio, those are like two of my very favorite stones. And so, yeah, so I love that. And then just so you know, I got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Elisa. For my birthday, she got me this really cool blue bracelet here. So I'm rocking that out. It's got the little sparkles in it. I love stuff with sparkles and color. But Miss Violet was a really cool person to meet. We hit it off really well. And we even, over coffee, talked about deep stuff as far as like religion, faith, tarot, work type stuff. She's really complex and cool. So I'm really glad that she's part of our group. So feel free to say hi to her and welcome her. And I hit up Pathways, and I spent more time there talking to the staff who work there versus shopping. But I was able to snag a new book with those spreads, the one I posted in our group. Every day is a new spread. And, I think that's awesome. So I'll keep sharing those with you guys. And of course, if you want like the actual book, it's totally affordable. Just go by Pathways if you live in the St. Louis area. And if you don't, you can order things online through them, and they're uber helpful. And then after that, I went to Walmart, did some grocery shopping, and then I headed home. It was just a cold, kind of windy, rainy day outside, very overcast. So it's not like one of those days where you really want to go out and do stuff, because it's so cold and rainy. And I think it's going to be like that a good portion of the week. So tonight, we're going to continue our journey through the Suit of Swords. And the card that we're covering tonight is probably one of the most dreaded cards from the Minor Arcana. I'm going to mention the good that can come from this card, because, all the cards have a medicine to them. All of them offer a means of growth, insight, and clarity if we take the time to reflect and think and inwardly turn, right? So I'm going to hold up the card from Rider-Waite-Smith. And so, in sharp contrast too with what we usually cover with the cards, we don't have any people. Instead, we have the heart, which is, from, say, for example, a human being. This is, related to, say, humans, with the three swords. And like we've talked about, swords were the only thing invented to inflict harm on someone else, unlike, say, a knife or an axe that have alternative uses. Good evening, Tim. Welcome to the Go Live. You have to say, how you're doing and all that good stuff. And by the way, tell Marie, I put it up. I wore her dragon necklace today. I really liked it a whole lot. So let her know I really loved her work on that. I took it off because I got a new stone. So after I cleaned it, I'm breaking it in. Oh my goodness. So what we're dealing with here is a lot of heavy emotions with this card. So we have the Roman numeral for 3, and we have 3 swords pointing downward, showing that a manifestation has occurred. A truth has been revealed. These are heavy truths that can cause a lot of sadness and sorrow and a lot of pain. So we're talking about, as far as say, love. Love is a big common one with this card. You're talking about betrayals, such as affairs. It's very common when you're looking at, say, the Three Swords, that each of these represents a person in a relationship, and then there's that third person coming in, causing conflict. What else? With career, we're talking about the alter dynamic too. This could be the loss of a job. So kind of think of the bigger stuff. This could be somebody that loses their position, like they're told they can stay in the company if they take a lower paying job. You know, trailing back to love, this also ties in with finances. So with this betrayal and this pain and all the sorrow, when people go their separate ways, sometimes they cannot afford to live on a single income where they currently reside, and they have to rethink, well, okay, well, I cannot remain here, so where do I go? And then there's the splitting up of assets, and it can also show like financial loss. So like for people who invest in, say, the stock market, say also they backed a friend up on a business venture, and maybe there was some deceit involved where the other person was not being forthright and they were trying to take advantage. And then the venture fell through, and the person who, say, essentially loaned or invested that money to help their buddy or their what have you, their colleague out, it was a total loss of money. And so these clouds, when I see clouds in tarot, you know, I know if you guys have been around these go lives for any amount of time, you know that I think of like, it's like similar to fog. When we're driving in fog, you don't have full clarity or anything like that. But with here, we have that painful truth revealed. It's no longer a hidden thing, and it's caused a lot of conflict. So for me, intuitively, when I see a lot of the clouds overhead, with the clouds and the rain, from the things I've read, it's meant to symbolize a very grim environment that was intentional, but it could also be kind of feeling like your world's falling down all around you, and not at that point in time being able to see a light out at the end of the tunnel, because that pain has to be experienced, processed, and worked through in order to, say, maybe have those clouds drift away, and to see that there's healing occurring. And, you know, and if we see healing occurring, we're looking at a reversal. And, you know, like I've told you guys, you don't have to read reversals with the cards, but generally speaking, when things are reversed, we're talking about the opposite meaning. So this shows that, okay, a couple things. It could show that someone has been in the process of mourning from this loss and sorrow, maybe a bit too long. So they need to go ahead and put the past behind them, because it's holding them back on moving forward. It can also reflect somebody being very much in denial, to where here it is, when it's upright, a truth is being made known. And so instead of processing that truth, and it is what it is, and kind of figuring things out, they're very much in denial. That's the tricky thing when we're talking about like the heart, because, you know, like we were talking about last night too, like this suit generally doesn't like emotions. This suit's all about air and logic and intellect. But with this, we very much have our emotions, and, you know, that come into play. What else here? with finances. So when it's upright, someone needs to really think about their finances, especially due to a loss, to figure out how they're going to get back on their feet. Now, let's say if they just turn a blind eye to it, they don't formulate a plan, things continue to get worse, then we have that reversed energy as well, to where it actually can show a worsening of that aspect. So, the good that can come from this card is kind of like what we've talked about a lot in our group with other go lives and stuff that we do. If we do not experience pain, as unpleasant of an endeavor that it is, then we're not processing it to figure out how to best move forward with our lives and essentially heal, and not continue to carry that pain and sorrow with us. This is not a comfortable card to get, and especially if you're doing a reading for yourself or other people, if you're getting, you got to look at the cards around it especially. So like you're seeing if you've got like the Ace of Cups, Two of Cups, the Lovers, if I'm getting the High Priestess, it could be, we're talking about intuition with the High Priestess, like there's something off there. The Three of Swords carries a real heavy energy to it. So I'm going to look at the various things I wrote down to make sure I'm being thorough here. So I had mentioned how all three swords are pointing downward, which it's pointing toward the earth. So we're talking about the manifestation of the betrayal, the deceit. The clouds and rain reflect the grimness of the situation. And being that there's three swords, it's just like any other suit I've taught you guys so far. By the time we get to three, you could look at it like alchemy, combining two things to make a product, okay? Or you think of group work. There's a third person there. It could also, like we had kind of referenced, it could be a love triangle with another person involved. So we're looking at heartbreak, sadness, grief, separation, loss, betrayals, affairs, disloyalty. The beauty in this card is someone can process the pain, heal, and move forward, which still gives us, or the person we're reading for, control over their lives. They're not at the mercy of their emotional state and circumstances, although they're going to very much feel like they are. It could also, which I kind of like this, even though it kind of reminds me of the Death card too. So you know how from the Death card, some people's, especially if they're inexperienced with tarot, they think, oh, someone is going to die. But that's very rare. When we pull the Death card from the Major Arcana, that means that it's like a theoretical death of something is occurring, so that there's like a new beginning, a new start, which is why it's my favorite of all of them. But what we're talking about with this could be cardiovascular problems. And the funny thing is, so I've been an RN, this year makes 13 years. And so for a while there, I specialized with cardiac. So anything to do with the heart, that was my jam. So when I read that, I just smiled, like, of course. So you're talking about heart attacks, angina, any type of circulatory issues. If someone has high blood pressure, they may need to definitely follow up with a doctor if they hadn't, say, recently. Some people see their providers fairly frequently, like say every 6 months for assessment. Some, generally, it's every year. It just depends on what's going on with them. So if you're talking to your person and you're looking at the rest of the cards surrounding this, and let's say, I'll throw it out there, say if they get like a Five of Pentacles, we're talking about earthly, right? And they get this, and there's no, say, deceit or deception or anything like that, then you could be talking about the heart. But what I read indicated it doesn't mean like a serious illness. So I would more often, I would generally say that would be more of a rarity. Although I did recently have a reading where the lady had some issues health wise, did not take the medicine the doctor prescribed her because she just didn't want to do it, and told me she had high cholesterol during a reading. And I honestly, it doesn't matter that I'm an RN, because RNs, we report to physicians and we do what they order us to do to treat people. But what I will do during readings, if somebody tells me something like that, I'm like, okay, I do not replace, like, medical or professional advice, because I'm not in a professional environment. But my humble 10 cents of an opinion as an RN is you need to see your doctor. And this is why. Because you could have strokes, heart attacks, very debilitating things, and at least if you see your provider, you can still disagree to treatments. That is totally a patient right. But at least you've got more data to know about the current state of your health. And so you advocate for them in that way and kind of get them to thinking about it. Because who wants to be nagged at? So, like, whenever I do readings, I don't, like, it's not like a know-it-all, like, nagging type thing. It's more about, like, a conversation between, say, two good friends. That's kind of like my flow when I do readings. Sorrow is the destruction of love. And this is, again, it's sad. So that pain of losing a love is hard. It's an understanding of our own mental processes. So with swords, we're dealing with air, which is logic and thought. It's obtaining an understanding of sorrow in our lives. So that would be kind of like that double-edged sword. You know how, like, we talked about it back with the ace. There's a truth revealed, which is good for us to know, but it's double-edged, meaning that the other side, the tip of that sword, there comes pain with that. So there's a price to be paid for everything. There has to be an equal exchange or a balance of some sort, And then let's see here. And so with love, we're looking at breakups, arguments, conflict, separation, career, conflicts, job loss, hurt feelings. Finances, financial loss, splitting assets, not able to afford living alone. And then when we go to the reversed, which I see my hubby's on here. Hi, Tim. So when it's reversed, we're looking at upset accompanied by quarrels and drama. A positive from the reverse would be some of the pain is released with some healing. So it shows that healing process. Or it can. However, back to some negatives would be denial of some pain, not understanding your own thought processes. So things are still very cloudy. We don't have that full illumination and understanding to fully experience that pain so we can process it. When it's in reverse, it's the opposite. So we don't have that mental clarity. Here's a good positive, which would be healing, forgiveness, recovery, and reconciliation. That's a good thing. Bad thing, back to the negative, would be repressing emotions. Again, being very evasive, avoidant. So kind of like when I mentioned before, when it's reversed, it's time to move on. So they've spent enough time in this upright position, feeling the sorrow so that they can heal and move forward. If they're still in that place, they need to kind of wrap it up because it's really hindering their growth and progression. Enough time has been spent mourning at that point. So with love, we have forgiveness, compromise, or moving on. So as far as like couples go, they're either gonna have a really respectful talk about where their relationship is and decide they love each other enough to work on it, or they can't. Compromise cannot be met. One or both parties, they're not willing to work on it. And that's going to happen. But that would be, so if they're not willing to work on it or move on, I think it's more upright. And then here we're looking at the opposite meaning. So I kind of disagree with that because I was taking notes as I was reading. If they're moving on, if they have closure, even if it's separating, getting a divorce or whatever, they have closure at that point. They can move on, if that makes sense. Because their truth is before them. They know what they're going to do. With career, it's putting the conflicts behind and having a good rapport with, say, somebody's colleagues or supervisor. It's another project, a new beginning of sorts. With finances, it's building savings. It's finding financial stability. So this very much demonstrates how not all reversals are bad. Just like there are no bad cards in tarot, but it's your perception. Some people will disagree with me and be like, oh yeah, the common ones, the Tower, death, the devil, all these things are bad cards, but it just demonstrates the human experience, and we're all at the various levels of the journey throughout our whole lives, and it's not linear. So that is pretty much what my findings were from researching this. And now we'll delve into the cards that are based in Rider-Waite-Smith, but the artist took some liberties with it. I really like this one. So it's like if you've heard of that saying, you know, you're pulling on my heartstrings. That's what our author chose to do. They're literally, the heart is being torn apart. And the woman in the photo, which if you look at her tattoo, she's got the Three of Swords, like in our Rider-Waite-Smith. Her eyes are closed and she's screaming because internally she feels like she's being ripped apart. In the environment, it is very grim. We have this fog, so we've got that cloud cover. There's no green growth. And then even her attire is gray. Like the main standout to this card would be the color that the artist used for the heart, which is that bright, prominent red. And, you know, I like it. I like how they even implemented a bit of brown there, showing it cracking and tearing apart, because this is intense sorrow and pain. It's not comfortable at all, you know. And the readings I have done, for other people, when they get this, they can definitely be readings where they need some Kleenex. Like they're going through some stuff, you know. With this one, we see two crow friends. And so we've got the three swords pointing downward through the heart. And I really like how they did the heart here. It's really cool. But you see how the one crow took to the sky. It's determined, you know what? I'm not hanging out. I'm leaving. The other one is left coping with this betrayal, feeling abandoned and just at a loss. And so, and then we even have the cloud cover up there. So I really like what they did with this. And we've got some blues and oranges and yellows in the background. But it's just a really pretty card. But it's kind of sad, because, yeah, they're kind of alone dealing with that, not feeling like they have much of a support system, you know, which it's really good if you read for other people. You assess. I've done it frequently. I'll ask whoever I'm reading for, very matter-of-factly, who's your support system? So if this relationship didn't work out with so-and-so, given what we've discussed, do you have anybody? And then if they don't, and say if they're really depressed and they're telling you about stuff that are like red flags, like classic symptoms of depression, not wanting to get up out of bed, not doing hygiene, not eating, being very removed, not interactive with others, they need medical attention. So you would just, you know, of course, reference them to like, hey, here's some resources to check out. If they tell you they're suicidal too, I would totally, because I think like a nurse, I would tell them, especially if they're suicidal, they've been thinking about it, they've got a plan, they've got the means to do it at home, and they're telling you they do, this person needs to go to the emergency room to have a medical doctor evaluate them and to be assessed by a psychiatrist to keep them safe. And another thing I learned from being a nurse is if you ever have somebody that you know of or what have you, where they've had a suicide attempt, you have to watch them, because even when they start to have energy and you think they're back to normal, I want to say it's like 4 months after the attempt, they may very well try again. So it's a very complex thing. Our mental health can become our physical health. It can negatively impact it, and it's totally okay to get help. I think that's the cool thing about nowadays with the science of medicine. They know things about mental disorders that they didn't back in the day, which was really sad what people had to go through. So you always, when you're doing readings for people, if they're in a really bad place, it's all about looking at resources. And if you don't know resources, you can always Google them. There's all sorts of info online, or even ask, which you want to maintain confidentiality. However, we're not allowed to keep secrets. So I've had clients even, and I'm thinking more about the nursing realm. I'm not allowed to keep secrets, but even if they, say if I'm not working as a nurse and I have somebody ask me that, which I haven't yet with a reading, but if they did, hey, can you keep a secret? I'm going to be very upfront with them. If you tell me you're wanting to harm yourself or another person, I can't keep secrets about that, and I'm here to help you, but I'm not, because it's ethically and legally wrong. You shouldn't do that, if that makes sense. So never promise that, I had to go to a dark place for a minute because this is a dark card, Now, with the Three of Swords in this one, we have this beautiful lady, and her eyes are closed. So it's kind of like she's inward reflecting and processing. And so we see these birds here, and it looks to me like one of them, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it's attached to her garment, but it's like right over the area where her heart is. And it's dark, so that could be representative of the sorrow. And then there's a bird that's flying out of her hand, so it would be like processing and releasing that hurt and pain. And again, we've got our downward pointing swords here. So I thought that was nice, and I like how here we have the darkness that she's putting behind her to move more so toward the light, So, hi, Honor, I see you jumped on here. Of course, welcome. And then, I always finish things off with the card not based in Rider-Waite-Smith. And this is from the Hush Tarot. So with this one, I don't know. I see like fall. It looks like the leaves have changed color. This little bird is just kind of sitting there. And this person, I don't know if they're supposed to be a spirit of some sort, or they don't have very good vision. They've got those milky eyes going on. It's looking toward the bird. The only thing I could artistically think of is the bird's representative of their sorrow, and it's not taken flight yet. But if you didn't know anything about what we just talked about with the Three of Swords, I mean, somebody who's new and learning is going to be like so confused, even though we technically have more detail in this picture than say this even, but we don't have that common symbolism, that's crossing over. So that's an issue. And that's why it's always good to have some sort of reference for Rider-Waite-Smith. And even when I post in our group, even if the deck is based on Rider-Waite-Smith, if it's a deviation from what we've been studying, that's why I put the two cards together. And you can totally do that at home too as you're learning and getting comfortable with your practice. So you get to learn the base meanings after you first intuitively read your cards. But always look for the common colors and symbolism that carries over, because it helps you as far as like remembering the cards and helping to remember the meanings of them, This is one of my favorites though. It's a sad card, but again, they really executed that well in that pain, So that sums us up on the Three of Swords. Do you guys like have any questions or anything? I don't know. So far tonight, just, I haven't seen any comments. I can see when people hop on, but if you did comment or anything this time around, I didn't see anything. And what I do is after go lives, I will go and I'll check for comments, and we're working together as a group. I was even bragging to Mel at Pathways when I was there. I'm like, I love my group. I'm like, it's all about the quality, not the quantity. I love the people that I have in it. Everybody is so smart and put together, and I love how everybody's so respectful and expressing their differing opinions, viewpoints on tarot, and growing. So we're growing as a collective, and I really mean it. I'm really proud to be part of our group, So I think this sums us up tonight. Now, tomorrow's Wednesday, so we'll go ahead and we'll cover the Four of Swords tomorrow at 8. And I'll go ahead, I'll post a card as usual. And then Honor at noon, I know that you'll be doing your show and tell, which would be nice for your Oracle deck for shadow work, which would be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's the gist of it, other than I'm working at the Grand Slam on Thursday doing readings. So I'll be there between 5 and 10 working with Kyle and Kathy. Say hi to Mel for me at Pathways. No problem, Tim, I will. I will definitely say hi to her. I hadn't seen her in a while today, and I was there like shooting the bull with the ladies that were working the floor. And then out of the basement she came, and like I hadn't seen her in a coon's age. Honor, oh, so cool. Yes, I'm prepping as we speak. Oh, I have all faith in you, Honor. So are you doing a go live tonight that I need to tune into for the metaphysical shop that you've been working in and doing like readings for? I saw the little post in Unity Coven, but I didn't see anything on your personal page because I was wanting to watch you and support you in that. And of course, feel free to share it in our group too, so that people can follow you. I don't know if that's just you, if it's just responding to comments, or if you're actually going to do like a go live or a video where you're doing readings and looking at stones and crystals and how to apply them. Like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm really interested in what you've been working on. So I think that's it. And then Honor says, I just posted through text an engaging interest for lives and videos. Very cool. Very, very cool. I guess the only thing would be the connection. Like we were talking, like I've got a good connection because Tim has really good internet for his work. But I'm noticing like you've had issues, Sharon's had issues, Kyle has not, but he might have really good internet. I don't know. I'd have to ask him. And then Tim says, I can do reading full and noon moons. Ooh. And let's see, Tim. And we just had a new moon today. Well, shoot. If you want, and this is not to my husband, Tim, but to Tim Clark. If you want to like shoot me a message, let me know what like date and time would work for you. I can make you something on Canva, make it look real nice, or if it resounds with you more, just post within our group. Just clarify the time and the day with me so I know it doesn't conflict with somebody else, if that makes sense. I want everybody to have their time and space and not have like different things going on. Because I love all this. I love all of you guys doing stuff. That's the beauty of our group. And I love how you see things too, Tim. I like how it's just like a different insight on the cards. You're expanding my knowledge base on them. So I'm growing as well having you in our group. Like, you're awesome. So I'm so happy that you're here. And please say hi to Marie for me. Your wife is so nice. And Honor says, so there was a reading with posts and pictures. We are looking to find what's wanted there, but... let's see. So aid love to do, or I'd love to do readings and talks. I agree. And then you could interact, even though I know it's weird, like we were talking last night. When you do these go lives, it's like you're looking into the bathroom mirror. You miss facial expressions, body language, which I value. You don't get that with go lives, but at least you've got the back and forth rapport and that dialogue and exchange. That's why I prefer go lives, especially with how our group has really built up and I have all these people with various viewpoints. This is ideal to me. I love the back and forth. Versus if we post, it's more of just, I mean, it's still valuable. You get comments, you just don't have that same flow going on. And if anything, I heard it some time ago, you get more viewers when it comes to videos. It's something about, it increases the amount of people who visit your page. If you do more of like the interactive video type stuff, they actually like that. And so it's kind of like a hurdle to have to look at your face while you're talking into a camera. But if you have that dialogue, as long as you don't overthink having to look at your face and how you look, just try not to overthink that. And just kind of, if that makes sense, especially as girls, we overthink stuff. Well, men can too, but we're all about our makeup and hair and all this stuff. So, very cool. Well, I look forward to seeing what's going on with you, Honor, because you're making a lot of progression. Like, it's really exciting. So, well, I guess that sums us up tonight. But I'll check for a message from you, Tim. Just let me know when you would like to do your readings. Now, if you don't know the time, I would say get back to me about at least like a week prior so I can like block it in if that makes sense on the schedule. So. Cool. Alrighty. Well, in that case, I will let you guys go. Thank you for visiting with me and have a good evening. And Honor says, I'm trying. Thank you for being a support. Oh, it's easy to be supportive of you. It's not a problem at all. It's easy. All right, guys. Bye.